G'day mates, Captain Doug here. Welcome to episode 1 of Houseboats 101. What you've always wanted to know about houseboats but were afraid to ask. In this series, I'm going to take you through a houseboat, from top deck to below deck, bow to stern, inside and out. We'll look at all the intricate details that go into owning and operating a houseboat. We'll take a look at construction, electrical systems, mechanics, water systems, entertainment options, and after that, how to get out on the water and eventually back into the dock. My wife, the first mate, and I have owned 5 houseboats in the last 10 or so years. You could say we're the ultimate upgraders.
We started our houseboat journey when we sold our 26-foot bow rider and bought a 1987 14 by 60 foot Somerset, just like this one. We were hooked, line and sinker. I remember when we first saw it, sitting at the end of a broker's dock in a small marina. It looked magnificent and huge. The first mate fell in love with the boat as she walked onto the front deck. 60 feet of sumptuous living space with gangways down each side. The grandkids loved it as they investigated every nook and cranny, and they could actually sleep over on it. Of course, it only had 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, plus a couple of bunks in a hallway, but an actual bedroom and a kitchen. What more would we need? Obviously, more. After all, we were on the upgrade path. Our next boat was a 1992 14 by 62 foot Somerset. Not much longer, but not having the outside gangways allowed the inside to take full advantage of the 14-foot width. This boat actually had 3 full bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms, and a dishwasher in the kitchen. A dishwasher on a boat. Wow! Onwards and upwards. Our next houseboat was a 1997 16 by 78 foot Somerset. Now we're talking big. We found it up on blocks at a broker, so we were able to do some renovations before it was splashed. That's launched for you landlubbers. Still only had 3 bedrooms, but now had 2 full bathrooms, each one with a stand-up shower, and it actually came with a hot tub and water slide on the top deck. I'm thinking, this is getting too much. Apparently not, as our next boat was a 1998 16 by 72 foot Somerset with 4, count 'em, 4 bedrooms. Not bigger, but certainly better. Finally, we went the whole hog and bought a 2001 16 by 80 foot Somerset. You'll see more of this boat in the next episode. All the houseboats we've bought over the years needed renovations to some degree, a task the first mate took on with relish and convinced me into helping.
So why go for a houseboat and not a cruiser, you ask? Cruisers look flashier and go faster. They can also cost a lot more, and with 10 grandkids, a cruiser was still not going to provide enough space. When we bought our first houseboat, There were lots of houseboat manufacturers, all churning out dozens of boats a year. After 2008 and the Great Recession, the number of houseboat makers dwindled to less than a handful. Consequently, the price of used boats has held steady or even gone up. There are three main materials used in building houseboats: steel, fiberglass, and aluminum. Steel-hulled houseboats are a dying breed. Literally, they tend to sink. And marinas are more reluctant to allow steel boats to dock due to insurance risk. If you didn't realize it, steel in water tends to rust. But interestingly enough, steel boats tend to rust out from the inside, not the outside. So while a steely may look good from the outside, the damage is being done on the inside. Fiberglass has been a popular choice for a number of years, mainly for the smaller houseboats like this Gibson here. It doesn't rust like steel, but the bottom of the hull still needs to be coated with anti-fouling to protect the fiberglass from blistering and delamination. Incidentally, while Gibson went out of business after 2008, they've since started manufacturing again, so we may start to see more of these boats around. That leads us to the most common material used to build houseboat hulls: aluminum. Of the three materials, aluminum needs the least amount of care. It doesn't rust like steel, it doesn't blister like fiberglass. It's a lighter material than the other two, and unless you're leaving your boat in brackish water, it does not need any special protective coatings. Also, aluminum is relatively strong and malleable. That is, it can take some serious hits and only have a few scratches to show for it. There are basically two styles of houseboat hulls: what is called a barge hull, and one where they use two or more pontoons to make up the hull. The pontoon style tends to be less expensive to build, but the barge hull allows for more room inside the boat. I'll show you what I mean later in this series when we go inside a barge-hulled houseboat. So let's look at the houseboat we're going to use as our example in this series. It is a 2001 16 by 80 foot Somerset. We bought this boat about 3 years ago after we sold our 16 by 72 foot Somerset. All 5 of our houseboats have been Somersets. Back in 2001, when this boat was built, Somerset was one of the premier houseboat builders in Kentucky. At that time, the houseboat capital of the world. They had a 200,000 square foot facility and even had their own testing pond. Unfortunately, the Great Recession was too much for them and they closed in 2009. Since 2014, Trifecta, an amalgamation of Somerset and Stardust and Thoroughbred, has continued building the Somerset brand. Coming up in episode 2, we will do a complete walkthrough of the boat, showing you the various spaces found in a boat, and we'll even go below deck. So join us for episode 2 of Houseboat 101.